attendees are in listen-only mode.
You are live, ladies, on Facebook and YouTube. Hello, and welcome to a special CCO webinar live from Washington, D.C. Alicia and Jennifer, tell us where you are today.
We are in the National Harbor, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C.
When I was coming in from the airport, the driver pointed over and I got to see the Washington Monument, and tried to take a picture real quick, and really I didn't get to see. It was like this big in the picture, but it's over there.
It's all good. And you guys are where?
Right by the Gaylord.
No, the conference.
Oh, oh well.
Our address? No.
The conference is the AAPC's Washington, D.C. Regional Conference, and it is at the Gaylord, if you know where that is, in Washington, D.C.
It's actually in Maryland, isn't it? Technically, Jennifer?
Yeah, everybody calls it D.C. though.
That was my old stomping grounds, actually.
Yeah. You're in Maryland, you can look up the river in D.C. or look across the river and see Virginia.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Yep. There you go. So tell us what's going on. What are the highlights, guys?
We got here. What day did we get here? Jennifer came to the Teach the Teacher, okay, and that's an excellent way to get your CTUs, not CEUs. If you're a CPC-I, you can go to the national conference or the regional conference. The CPC-Is are required to get 8 CEUs every year. Not every 2 years, right?
Every year.
Every year. And those are teaching credits, teaching units is what they use those for. And so there's other ways to get them, but the most convenient way is to get that at the conferences. So the regional conferences, if you don't get to go to the national conference every year, usually they try to have regional conferences that are located throughout the U.S. where it'll be closer for you. So the expenses, not so much, for one reason. Plus they are smaller venues. It is not that much difference in price per se. It is a little bit less expensive.
A little bit less, and then especially if you're regional, you don't have that travel cost or a lesser travel cost. So.
Yeah, so you're closer. And then a lot of times the speakers that are at the regional conferences will also be at the national conference, which is either at Disney in Florida, or it's going to be in Las Vegas. And this year for 2019, next year is in Vegas. They've already had the one this year it's in April. So we are at the Washington, D.C. Regional Conference, and then in September, in the middle of the month, Jennifer and I are going to be going out to Anaheim, California, to the California Regional Conference. And I think I'm doing 2 lectures, and you're doing 2, or
just one? One lecture.
So this conference, we both are doing one. Tell them your topic.
My topic is entitled Medical Billing for the Certified Coder. So learning some of the basics of billing or insurances when you're a coder to be able to perform your job a little bit better. Because it's very important that you're aware, if you're a coder, to be aware of the billing, if you're a biller, to be aware of the coding, and it's ideal if you are certified in both. So, think about that, by the way, guys. I spoke the first day, which was Tuesday, right? Was the first day of the conference. So the CTU, the Teach the Teacher, was on Monday. Jennifer came in early for that. And then I came in Monday, and my lecture was on Tuesday, and it was Understanding ICD-10 PCS, which went excellent and got some positive feedback, as well as finding out a couple people that were more experienced than I am in PCS. And so we're going to be able to network and maybe have the opportunity to use them as subject matter experts in the CCO Club. So I'm really excited about that. That opens up another reason why conference is so important. Just the amount of people we've met and the amount of contacts we've seen. I mean, the very first day I was at my Teach the Teacher, it's an 8-hour long
workshop. And in one of our 15-minute breaks, these two ladies just started talking to each other. And within 5 minutes, she said, give me your resume. You know, I love what you do. We're looking for a position. And I actually ran into her today and I said, oh, did you give her that resume? She goes, yes. And now I have one other person asking for my resume. And she has a job, but she was looking for a new one. So the amount of people we've met insurance side. So United Healthcare Medicare, we've met Anthem Medicare, Blue Cross of California. So we've met a lot of people on both sides that you can use to get your opinions, ask your questions, and just have that. Now I have that business card, and now I know who I can reach out to when I need help with something. So just the amount of people we've met, that's probably what I love the most, is just meeting the people. The education's good. I do learn some good things, but being able to find somebody to help you with your problem is always a good thing.
That's something that's unique in our career, I think, too, is that we are not in competition with each other. You know, there's plenty of jobs to go around for coders, or no matter what you do in this aspect of the medical career. So billing, coders, et cetera, auditors, compliance, a lot of compliance people here. And we work with each other. It's predominantly women, you know, there's a handful of men, but very willing, pass those cards out and connect. I've got to see, since I've been here, people that I saw several years ago at national conference that I still say hi to, you know, and give them a big hug. How you doing? And keep in contact with them via email and have asked questions and things. So I probably think out of everything from going to conference, the networking is the #1 benefit. Would you say the same thing?
Yes. I mean, because that's probably you earn your CEUs, but you can earn CEUs from, you know, from CCO, from Medicare webinars, and all different areas you can earn your CEUs. But those connections that you make, you can't find those out there. So that's a little bit more difficult. I think that one of the most fascinating things I have found attending both HealthCon regional, HealthCon national, and then this regional, as well as the St. Louis regional, is most of these people are core-based CPC certified.
Right.
But the job that they do, I would have never thought that that's a job that I could do, you know, to learn about. There's forensic auditors. There's just so many different people who work for insurance carriers, people who work for the coding companies, the coding books, the education. There's so many different jobs out there that I think is just kind of fascinating to hear what some people do sometimes.
Yeah, I met a gentleman today in one of the lectures that I sat in. I just happened to sit next to him, and he is a physical therapist, and he's also he's a COC, and he had another credential. I can't remember what it was, but he audits specifically the therapies, and he goes in and shows them the revenue that they're losing, as well as, you know, if they've got any errors that might cause them to get audited. And I started to say a pretty lucrative career. I don't know necessarily, you know, that's not what I meant, but he's doing great. He said there's plenty of opportunities in what he's doing, and that's a really tiny niche if you think about it, right? But a much needed service out there. And then so he has a company that he does that for others. That he works for a physical therapy group, but then he has another company where they go out and do the auditing for just them. And I think that you would find that probably with almost every specialty, if somebody was a specialist could audit. I want to backtrack again about the networking. It's true that when you go to conference, you're going to get your CEUs, and there'll be subjects, there'll be the lectures that you sign up for. And, you know, usually it's stuff that you want to grow in, you know, increase your knowledge base and everything. But another thing it is that if you go to that particular lecture, like today I went to Judy Wilson's anesthesia and compliance and billing issues, but if I hadn't already known Judy, it would have given me the opportunity, especially at regional, where you go up, you shake the hand of the person that gave the lecture, and you make a personal connection so that, again, I can ask questions or direct somebody to her. But everybody else that's in that lecture is probably in the same boat that I am, that I'm wanting to increase my knowledge on compliance. I want to increase my knowledge on anesthesia. And so we're networking with each other too. And some of them are, you know, already experts, which I found in the PCS. When I did that, a couple of people piped up and was able to give some articulations of stuff that, quite honestly, I didn't know as much about, and they did because they have more practical experience in it. And we exchanged cards, and so that's pretty exciting. I wanted to also talk about the hardship scholarship. So it's not just the conference, what they do. We've talked about the networking, which our opinion is probably the #1 benefit that you get out of going to a conference, whether it be regional or national. And then the CEUs, I think, would be probably #2.
Probably, yeah. It's a good place to get them all at one time.
So how many CEUs did we get total? Is it?
This one was 12.
12.
Yeah.
Okay, so regionals end up being something like 12 to 18.
Anywhere in there.
Yeah, usually. And depending on how many lectures they can get into a day, you know, et cetera. But another thing that the AAPC does is this, they give us this little band, hardship scholarship. So for anybody that is wanting to become a coder, I know a lot of the people that attend these webinars are not certified yet, or they're, you know, just interested, trying to see if this is a career for them, or maybe they have just gotten certified. The hardship scholarship was established a few years back, and it allows us as members that go to the conference to contribute. One of the ladies makes a quilt, hand makes a quilt, and they raffle that off.
Gorgeous quilts.
Yes, very pretty.
Yeah.
And I feel really bad, but I can't remember what her name is.
Jeannie.
Jeannie makes those. Do you remember her last name?
No,
Me neither. But she donates her.
Jeannie Gershwin.
Jeannie Gershwin.
Yeah.
She donates her time and
materials
to make this beautiful quilt. They do it at every conference, and then we, you know, pay in for a raffle ticket, and then that money goes to the hardship scholarship. But that's not the only time that they collect for the hardship scholarship. The different chapters do things, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the benefits of having this hardship scholarship is if you submit a request for the scholarship, they help people with maybe purchasing new manuals for testing. They also have helped people pay for courses. In addition, they have helped when there was the hurricane. I know some people had lost supplies and things for their office, and they were able to contribute money for that.
It's for people who are having a hardship can apply for a scholarship. So they're able to, if they're on a time of financial burdens, or, you know,
It's
within their
based on
family
need.
or something.
Right.
Yes, it is based on need. Or the people who have been involved in hurricanes or earthquakes or some kind of disasters, their business may be shut down for a month or two, but their dues are still due. So they may not be working and may not have the income at the time to afford those books or their dues or something. So this is available for those members, but it's also a chance for you to help your fellow members as well by donating.
And I think that goes back to what we said before about how not just networking, but that everybody's always helping each other. You know, it's very friendly at the conferences, and you make some really close friendships. Jennifer and I met at the conference in St. Louis, honestly, a year ago. And so look at what we're now. She's working for CCO. So again, it kind of goes back to the company that holds your credential is trying to give back. And so it's a way that we can be a part of that. I appreciate that with the AAPC. I also wanted to talk a little bit about people who are new as coders. We met a young woman, Misty, the first day, and she just happens to be from Texas, not far from where I live. So it just was quite funny because that's pretty far away to come to the DC conference, but the timing worked out, I think, for her. So this is her first conference. She is newly certified and she's not working yet, and she chose to invest in her career by coming to the conference. And I think that it'll pay off because there's some people that have inquired about positions, you know, and stuff. So don't think just because you don't have an experience that attending a conference isn't for you, that it is an investment. You know, I would say by the time you pay for the conference and then your lodging, what would you say, it's $1,000, or would it be more than that?
Probably more like $1,500.
$1,500.
Yeah.
So if you expect $1,500, they feed you, but not all the time. We're staying in a hotel that feeds us breakfast. So, you know, and you are so busy through the day that quite honestly, we're not as hungry. I think down at supper time, you're pretty hungry, but you know, today they catered in a wonderful Caesar salad meal, chicken Caesar salad, but that's all inclusive in your conference. So I would urge you to consider, if you're a new coder, to think about going to the conference and taking that investment. Sometimes if you are employed, but you're still a new coder, your employer may pay for it or help. You know, it never hurts to ask. They don't feel bad if they say no, but if they were to say yes, fabulous, that's great. And there are regional conferences all over the United States throughout the year.
I think actually on the AAPC website, when you go under conferences, there's actually a letter that you can submit. They help you with proper verbiage and you know, structure of how to submit to your employer a request. Now, maybe they won't pay for the whole thing, but maybe they'll pay for your hotel for you, or the conference, and you pay for the hotel or something. So there are always options out there. And also, if you see one coming, the earlier you register, the lower the price. So it's, you know, if it's one of those last minute, you may pay a little bit more, but if it's something you want to do, then look for when that registration first pops up.
Right.
Another little tip is, if you belong to your chapter, October is the month that all the chapters hold their elections for AAPC chapters. Officers and those who help proctor exams receive discounts.
That's
something else, a way that you are helping, and they are offering to give you an incentive back for your volunteer work in your chapters. So those things are nice. Sometimes our chapter actually did it this year because we had a conference that was regional. Right. Some chapters have raffles for registration to either like a regional convention, or possibly some states host a whole statewide weekend long symposium, very similar to this. You get a couple hundred people that attend, so that's a great place to get your name out there, meet other people in your industry, and those are especially in your area. So
they're the ones
easier to get a job,
or
they might work with the same carrier, so they have that same problem you do. Those types of things. So
that's a good point. I would urge you to check into your local chapter, because your local chapter may have a scholarship program as well. If you say, hey, I really want to go to conference, I don't think I'm going to be able to afford the full price. Does the chapter have a scholarship program to assist? And maybe they do. You know, one thing you may not know about your local chapter is they do get money from the AAPC, and they're required to use it. It's based on how many people are in your chapter. and they, by the end of the year, they have to have used that money. And providing scholarship to assist somebody with a conference or symposium or something like that would be a way to give back. So again, just another option of a way to be able to network. Probably, I would say also, if I'm trying to go through the steps of the benefits, I think from conference, is that they're vendors. Now, CCO has been in the past a vendor at the national conference, and we've also been vendors at other conferences besides the AAPC, but as well as some regional conferences. This year, we haven't really participated in that too much, but we will in the future, and we have in the past. Being able to meet some really unique vendors at the conferences is a benefit. And they also have raffles.
Little prizes or incentives, but that's always fun.
Yeah, I think Decision Health is the one that's giving the biggest this time. They're the one that's giving the $5,000 vacation.
I don't remember which one it is.
It's okay, maybe it's not Decision Health, but it's one of them, and they're giving a $5,000 vacation package. I didn't look at it. I don't remember what exactly it was, the details, but I think one of the ones from the Columbia University out of Alabama. I started to say Kentucky. Alabama, they're giving some Vera Wayne things away.
Vera Bradley purse.
Oh, Vera Bradley.
Vera Bradley purse.
Vera Bradley.
Yeah.
iPads are very popular.
Yeah.
Kindles sometimes, you know, and as well as maybe they are vendors that have coding manuals, and they'll give coding manuals away.
At HealthCon, one of the vendors, since it's a much larger, it's 3 times the size of this.
Yeah, you probably have 20, 30 vendors.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I think we have 6.
Yeah. Well, one of the vendors, when they leave, they don't want to take all this stuff with them that they brought. So they had all the coding manuals there, all different kinds of coding manuals. And when you had your little postcard, you brought it back for that day, we got to walk through and everybody got to take a book home. So I had one for my office, and this is like $100 manual that, oh, it's so useful for the office that it has the descriptions of procedures in it. And so when that gets complicated in your field, you go, what exactly did this surgeon do? I don't know. You can look up the description and it's all there, and it tells you similar codes. And it was a fascinating book that all I had to do was bring my card back at 3 o'clock and got a book.
Yeah, fabulous. You know. And as a vendor, as going and being a vendor, I remember, you don't want to lug that stuff home if you don't have to. With CCO, we were really lucky because for the most part, we had flyers and we had cards, and just our kind of like stage or whatever had to be packed up. We've got some questions coming in, and we'll look at those in just a second. I wanted to also say the benefit, probably the last, and it may not be the last, we may think of some more, but you have one that where you are in your locale, you know, and like I said, we're in Washington, D.C. So for the most part, I think we get done about 3 o'clock. Usually by the time you probably start 7 or 8 o'clock, and then we get done about 3 or 4. And there's some little breaks, but you can't really get away too far, you know. You have the rest of the day to sightsee, to go and look at what, you know, culture, diversity, art museums, maybe eat at a really nice restaurant that you don't have in your area, local food, absolutely. And of course, Washington, D.C., you know, you've got all the monuments. And I know the gentleman that brought me in from the airport had said, you know, you can see everything in 2 hours. You can go over there 2 hours, you can see everything. And so again, take advantage of that. Some people have brought their family, you know, and just made it a vacation time, so you could kind of plan that. So for me, that's the last advantage I can think of. I may think of some more, but what were you holding back?
Well, the person we met, Misty, and I've also met some other people as well, you know, that may not be in the field yet. This is a great opportunity for them to, I mean, she went in with me on CDI, so you know, documentation, and she's been to, they have a cardiology one, they have the anesthesia one, they have auditing. So it's a great place to find out a little bit more about another field that
Mhm.
maybe, or that you'd say, wow, they had one on OB, and
Yeah.
the girl had just started working
Yeah.
on OB, and she's
Yeah.
like, wow, you know, so it was a good place for her to go get all of those questions answered that she wanted, because she just started in that field. But to
Maybe
learn, say, do I want to do that? Do I want to go do that?
Mhm.
Wow, that sounds really fascinating. Maybe I want to take another course on that, or brush up on my anatomy in that field. So it's a good opportunity for more education of sorts. So
I think you're right. It's so often that people that even take the courses from CCO, and when I, as the educational director, sometimes they will call and say, you know, this is what my plan is. This is what I'm thinking because I like XYZ. I thought that this would be the right credential for me to get. And then, you know, it doesn't take long before you fill them out and you ask a few questions. You think, you know, this is another option. And I think it plays to your strengths more than what you were thinking. And this is why. And being able to do that here, like she said, there are some people that are working in areas I would never have thought of, and quite honestly sound pretty fascinating to me, you know. Now, don't get me wrong, I love what I do, but as an educator, that gives me the ability to go learn something and then turn around and give that back to our students, or let them know about opportunities that maybe you hadn't thought of. Again, a real advantage to being at the webinar. Should we get to some questions? Do you want to pick one from yours, and I'll look at this?
Actually, from Facebook, I just have hellos.
Oh, okay. We have
no questions yet.
We have some here, and I just need to make my screen this a little bit bigger for us to see the full question, probably. So bear with us. Boyd helped us get set up, but we are coming to you from our hotel room. And let's see here. There are no handouts tonight. You just get us, the dynamic duo from DC. Hi, I made that up on my own. Wow, sometimes I amaze myself. This person says, I am a CPC. Oh, she wrote a lot. I'm a CPC with no experience, and I'm certified 2 years ago. Just haven't started working in the field yet. I'm currently pregnant. I know that feeling. I've been pregnant a lot, and will be due in September 9th. I will be FMLA leave for 3 months. In that time that I take off, I would like to start any certification. I would like to start any certification or type of short affordable course to gain experience. Okay, that print's really small for me, but without reading the rest of it, I can tell you what I would suggest, and you're really, really lucky right now because CCO just started a compliance course. Now, like people that are going to be doing coding, we usually fill them out to see, you know, how they are on their anatomy and terminology, because that's very important, you know, in any certification that you're going to get in the medical field. But I feel that compliance is equally as important, because every exam that you take for any certification is going to have an area of compliance. So whether you decide to sit for the compliance credential or not, the ability to have taken a course and understand the rules, the regulations, the communication that's involved, things to be hyper aware of, that is advantageous. And the course that we have is not, I think it's very cost effective. And the knowledge that you get for that is going to be beneficial, again, for years to come. These are rules in compliance that don't really change. It's like anatomy and terminology. You know, the anatomy of the heart, it's not changing. Now, there are compliance issues that do change.
Right.
However, the basics of the compliance rules and regulations and how you do them and stuff like that, that doesn't change.
That's just like CPT codes change. You know, each year they might get rid of a few, they might add a few. The same would be true of compliance. So they might add a new facet to what is required. So.
And an advantage of being in our CCO club is that you get to maintain those courses. You get access to those courses for as long as you're a club member. So when they update, right, every year, and we put in changes and stuff. You have access to that. So having taken that compliance course would benefit you as you go on and pick up other certifications. So I've tried to take advantage of several of the talks this week that had to do with compliance. As long as compliance was in the title, I was interested in it, for that reason, because I know we have the course. And another thing about compliance, you may think to yourself, well, I'm a new coder and I really don't know enough to maybe, I probably am not skilled enough to be a compliance officer. It is a skill in and of itself, and you learn from what, the certification, the unique scenarios that happen. However, just that knowledge, again.
But even having a coding background, even not experience in it, but you understand the codes, you understand where to go, where to look at the guidelines, that would be very beneficial to a compliance officer as well, because they understand a little bit more of what is in that back process of those visits.
And when you take the course, when you're reading and you're going along the course and you're listening to lectures, you're going to think, hey, I already knew that because I've seen that in my office, or I've heard about that. So because it permeates every aspect of your life as a coder, that and medical terminology and anatomy.
I've taken the CPB, the CPMA, and the CPPM, and they all have compliance in them. So there's all some, you got to know it. So
I did urge you to consider that. So for answering your question, and I'd have to look and see what your name. Is it Christiza? I don't have my glasses on. I can't, my bifocals, but it's highlighted. So Morales, that was a good question. And so that would be one of the first choices I would take, instead of going and picking up maybe another certification, and you can get that certification. It would look really good on a resume to have just taken a course in compliance.
Yeah.
So, let's see, I think Whitney, yay, Whitney's in a lot of our.
So I wish they could have a regional conference closer to home in Nashville or Memphis. I wonder how they decide where the conferences are held. They always seem so far away.
They have had the national conference in Nashville before.
The year they held it in Nashville, it flooded.
Yes.
So that's where the hardship scholarship came from. They had to move it to Florida. I believe they do just try and incorporate as much as the area as possible. So if you look at where they were last year, they were in Salt Lake City, St. Louis, and they actually had Hawaii. Hawaii was the third one. So, got to get all the people over there who can't come over here. But, and so then this year they did the East Coast and the West Coast. So they're trying to incorporate a little. And even I've driven to Tennessee from here. So, I mean, it was 8 or 10 hour drive. So, I mean, it's a day drive. So it sounds horrible when you already have to take 4 days off for the conference and day for driving here and there. But it is one of those things that you got to look at and go, well, what's cheaper, driving or an airline ticket? So, maybe the expense might outweigh a little bit, or see if also somebody else in your chapter wanted to go, and then you carpool or something and split the cost at a hotel. And
one of the ways that the AAPC decides where they're going to have a conference, besides what Jennifer was stating as well, trying to split it up and connect with people in regions, there also has to be a local chapter or a group of local chapters in that area that are willing to help facilitate the conference, because the AAPC doesn't do it just all on their own. It's required that they get help, the volunteers. So if you want one in your area, if you want somebody in Nashville or close to that area, start speaking up with the local chapters, connect them. I happen to know that Tennessee has some great chapters. I went to Johnson City and spoke there, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great chapter. So getting together, you could do it in Nashville, you could do it in Memphis. She mentioned Memphis. You can do it in Knoxville, and there's like 4 or 3 big chapters there. So again, let the AAPC know you would like to have one in your area, and then in turn, let them know how many people are willing, chapters are willing to be involved. It's getting really dark for me. I'm going to try to turn this light on real quick. So excuse me.
Yeah.
I don't know how it turns on, though. Do you know how it turns on?
Oh, it's at the very top. It's above the
Oh,
light.
okay.
Above the
I'm going to
actual light itself.
stand
There's
up
a
and
little
do
tiny
that.
switch. Yep, right up there. Yep.
Maybe that'll help. Because I could just feel Boyd saying, what is going on with that light?
So we have a question. What did I do?
Oh, nope. There you go. Okay. I work in a hospital as a cardiac cath lab as a coder, and my question is about certifications. Should I get the CCC or the CIRCC? Well, I know she knows the answer to that, but I can tell you that I went to a cardiac cath lecture. The Ignacia was the speaker, but she goes by Julia. I think Ignacia is kind of hard for some people to say. She was brilliant, just fabulous. She's been doing this for many years, and she spoke about how anatomy is so incredibly important to know. You know the anatomy, definitely. Then it makes sense. And she gave tips. This is something I've been trying to improve in my knowledge base in 2018, interventional radiology, cath, and stuff like that, because we get so many questions. So I would let you talk to Jennifer, who also has a friend who's a CRI.
She's CERC. And
Yeah,
yeah, CIRCC. I think it is a good certification. She works with a lot of, she's a remote coder, and so she works with a lot of facilities across the United States and university hospitals, helping with some of their coding. So I think, and she's so knowledgeable. And yes, that anatomy is probably, she can name any system, and I just really, wow.
Yeah.
Off the top of your head.
Yeah. Well,
but I think that's probably would be more
than the
versatile.
CCC. Yeah, more versatile. Yeah. You could pick up I would pick up the CCC next, you know,
if you have that knowledge,
if you needed to do
that
it.
Information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could also check with other people that have the two credentials and network, you know, look in your local chapter to see if other people have that, networking, like, you know, going to the conferences, but feel free to go to the CCO Club and ask about other people that have that credential and get some feedback from them, see what their opinion is. I do think something that's unique about the CERT credential and the jobs that you have, it is intense. But if you think about it, you are doing the same thing over and over and over again, the same reports. So pretty soon, like you said, your friend, you've almost got it memorized. You know what the doctor's thinking. And so one of the things that I learned today, you know, depending on what vessel was accessed, whether it was a vein or an artery, automatically told her if it was a right or left heart cath. And I'm thinking, what? You know, I know anatomy really well. And then it dawned on me, why had I never thought about that? And it's so simple. It's like, because I needed somebody to tell me, it's like, okay, I've already know, you know, I know the path they took just because they said whether they entered an artery or a vein. And so again, it's those little things because she does it all the time. And another thing that I learned from risk adjustment is that you almost are trying to predict, right, what's going to happen next. So she knows that if this procedure was being done and the provider states that they're going to have to come back and do another procedure, and she can almost predict, is this going to be something he's going to do in 6 weeks or he's going to do in a year or two? And that means she'll see that patient's chart again, even though it's a big facility. So she's predicting already the outcome and what to look for coding for that patient. And that's because that's all she does all day. You know, she knows it inside and out. But yeah, I think I would go for the CERT.
Sure. Yeah.
Go for it. And then come back and be a SME for us, right? Let's see. Do you know why a HEMA will allow a dictionary and the AAPC will not? Just curious.
Well, one thing about AHEMA is they are also online,
Mhm.
and AAPC is not. And that is actually something that was discussed at one of the meetings I attended. It's just a difficult venue to the standard we hold the proctors to in AAPC. It's difficult to do that at a online venue facility. They may not understand the exact books that are required and things like that. But a medical dictionary, the AAPC is anticipating you already know that information.
That's right.
And some of the basic information is already in the CPT
It is.
books or HCPC books and some anatomical drawings and some
ICD
words
as
already.
well.
Yeah, it's but the AAPC is also testing on the broad general understanding the guidelines, understanding where some of the CPT codes and ICD codes come from. They're not necessarily testing you like a physician and needing a medical dictionary.
Right.
So some of the information they're going to give you is close to daily life situations that you're going to come across, where a medical record is, you know, especially if you're in that field, you already understand all that information.
Right.
Or when you're on the job, you can look it up. We do have Google. We do have all those books available, and we're not timed 2 minutes and 15 seconds to answer that question. So they are trying to give all of that information in more a real life situation. So you don't need that medical dictionary for your certification exam. They understand it might be needed in your daily job, but the situations they're going to give you on that exam are not going to be ones that will require it, because they want to know that you understand the guidelines and the process.
More about the guidelines.
More than the actual terminology.
They know you know how to code. Can you follow the guidelines? And they expect you already to know the medical terminology and anatomy. So I've never desired, or I've never needed a dictionary. However, you already know that's what I love, so I eat that up, you know. But again, I think that if you felt like you needed a medical dictionary, then I would go out and take an MTA course, medical terminology and anatomy, because you're not feeling confident in your ability to do that. And there's like 8 to 10 questions in both anatomy and terminology, and those should be just give me's. You know, you should be able to just whip through those. So if you can't do that, you don't feel confident, get some flashcards, get more familiar with it, and again, that's why I think you're right. We hold it at a higher standard. The AAPC's at a higher standard, and so they don't want you to do that. You can't have a dictionary when you go get your nursing license. I don't think either, right?
I hope not.
This person sounds like fun. Okay, here's one. Do some AAPC member or chapters charge dues? Because mine doesn't. I knew they had to get funding from somewhere, so I wondered if the AAPC donated in turn to them. The fact is, some do and some don't. When I was in St. Louis, it was either $5 or $10 a meeting, I think, that we had. But you have to consider this was a very large chapter with over 100, you know, I don't know how many members, hundreds of members. And when they had a meeting, it was usually 30 to 40 to 50 people that would attend. And the dues were to pay for the meeting location.
Yeah.
You know, so depending on, but when I was in San Angelo, we did not charge, because one of the members had a place for us to meet. And so, every month, you know, there was no reason to charge, but the AAPC does give money to the chapter.
The chapters do receive money through their members, through the attendance of the members at their meetings. They actually will receive a reimbursement of sorts. It's not a lot, but they get a reimbursement.
That's why they have you sign your name.
For that opportunity to be able to give back to its members who attend their meetings. Also, chapters that hold examinations receive a reimbursement that way. But in from being a chapter officer and from all the meetings I've attended with other chapter officers across the United States, some do charge a due, but some only charge a fee because they have a dinner brought in at every meeting. So you're really paying for your dinner. Yeah. Some have to pay for the facility. Like ours are held in a library, which is free. So we don't charge at ours because we don't have any kind of overhead expense. Yeah. Some do like a yearly at the beginning of the year pay, but then they use that money throughout the year to bring in snacks or you know, to do something to bring it back throughout the year.
Well, we were just talking about testing too and proctoring, and I had mentioned that one, I don't know if you were with me or somebody else was with me, but they used to put pencils in the packet, the proctor packet, you know, I was saying, they don't do that anymore. And she goes, well, it doesn't cost very much to go over to Dollar General and buy some pencils. And I said, well, you're right. But we were talking about how the proctor packages change throughout the years. And it's based on surveys and what they think that they need to provide for you. But the, I don't know if it was, I think it was you, did you say that your chapter provides snacks for the people that are testing?
We do. We give a little goodie bag, and we probably spend $75 to $100 at the beginning of the year, go on Amazon and buy goodie bags and pencils and erasers and highlighters and Post-it notes and things just as a benefit to the member. I mean, sometimes people actually show up and forget their pencils or something.
Oh, I never take one because I know they're there. That's terrible.
Or, you know, things like that. And then we also will buy, you know, like a big pack of granola bars before the meeting and a case of water. And that's not that much of an expense that we feel is just a nice treat for the members.
It's the local chapters are at liberty to do whatever they want. And so the first time that I went and sat for an exam, I think it's the first time I sat when I sat for the CPC-I, and it just happened to be that one of the proctors was a CERC, and that's all that's the only credential that she had, only job she'd ever had for a cardiologist. I thought that was pretty cool. But they had granola bars and snacks, and our local chapter had never done that, and I'd never been to one that had, and so I just thought that was really cool. But again, it's up to the local chapter to do that, you know, and it also probably depends on how many people you could facilitate. Our local chapter, we could maybe test 10 at a time there for a while, and that was it. But we had a test every month that we, you know, proctored. And then there was others that would have 30, 40 people that they could accommodate, you know, and so that makes a difference, you know, if you're going to provide snacks or something too, I guess. Here's another good one. It looks like, do you all have any suggestions for working in behavioral health coding? Well, I can tell you that's one of the things that when we went to the opening meeting, it was Bevan had stated that was one of the things that the AAPC is working on to give more education and certification in that.
And it's actually a non-CEU certification. So it's offered as a certification, but it's not one that each year you have to continually get your CEUs in the behavioral education, or behavioral field.
One of the reasons that behavioral health now is in the highlight or being highlighted, and people are asking and scrambling for all of this, is because now the insurances pay for it. Whereas, you know, 10 years ago, you didn't get any reimbursement.
Out of pocket.
Right. So why would you need to be certified? You know, you don't have to put in any code. Nobody cares. You're not getting paid. And now that it is, it's a big deal, and people are scrambling to have experts and to get guidelines and working compliance even, you know, what are the scenarios that we might come up against. So it's pretty interesting.
I have one of my chapter officers that's her field, and she's usually posting questions. Okay, I need some help. I need to find something here to give to my provider, and I can't find anything. So where are these guidelines? So,
you were telling somebody the Misty, the new coder that we had met, and that, you know, coding is not black and white.
No.
You know, so the guidelines are there, but the payers don't necessarily comply, and that's when I was telling her, you know, it's statistical purposes. Being a you know, it just happens to be a convenient way to get paid. So what the payers want, you end up complying to, because you won't get reimbursed. And the guidelines you said were, you know,
very gray.
Very gray. They're due to interpretation. They're giving you, you know, and so with something that is relatively new like behavioral health, if you wanted to get some training in that, you would end up at this time period probably becoming a leader in that particular area if that was your desire. So it might be a good thing to do. Our Skylar that works with us has a background in behavioral health, and he's likes compliance more, but behavioral health is dear to his heart, and he has a lot of training in that, and he has also said it's difficult to find stuff.
We just kind of give him our questions.
That's right. Whenever we get a question like that, it's like, I think we should ask Skylar that. He's great. Let's see. Here's thank you. I'm also a CCO Club member. Good for you. Kudos. Which I learned about through you here at the Houston chapter. Thank you. Yes, that's right. Houston is another place that I went because I live pretty close to Houston. I'm about what, 2.5 hours, and I was able to stay with my cousin, which was really nice, and then able to provide them a lecture. Mike.
Okay, hold on. Let me do it.
Okay.
Experiencing technical difficulties.
I just got the technical problem.
I see it, yeah.
And you're back.
All right. Sorry about that, everybody. We're using my jetpack, and it wasn't plugged in the battery. We're just talking away, and all of a sudden the computer says it's not connected anymore. It was actually over there beeping. I did see it beeping and lighting up.
I heard something beeping, but yeah.
So we left off on a great subject, me looking good. And that's when it went down. Can you believe that? My awesomeness, my awesomeness and charisma crashed the internet. But what I was going to say is that one of the benefits of going to the different conferences and meeting people and making friends is that I know people from several years ago. So before I lost weight, they knew me. They knew some of my health struggles and things that I was suffering from, because when you go to national conference, there's a lot of walking.
We've been talking about that. So yeah,
you see a lot of women on scooters. You know, so they'll rent those scooters and everything. And I'll let you answer, boy. Oh, maybe he's okay. And so again, that was something was hard on me. I had asthma, I was overweight, you know, a lot of problems. So now they see me, and you know, I was perky then, but I'm over the top now. And now our other third roommate is across the room laughing, and she just met me. So again, you know, that I appreciate it. Thank you. I take all compliments to heart, and I appreciate it. So.
She was going to put her hair up today, and we convinced her, no,
yeah.
She look great.
I do have crazy hair. You guys know that. Let's see. Let me move this up just a little bit, and we'll get back to this. Our chapter is about 120 to 150 members with around 50 at a meeting. That's
awesome.
That's yeah.
Because actually, it's expected about 10% of your members
actually
come to a meeting.
Yeah,
so that's great.
We meet at a cardiology clinic and proctor 3 to 4 exams a year. The only time food is provided is at May Mania, which is another great thing, and the annual holiday party. We also do a Christmas, you know, our chapters always did a Christmas party. One of the games we used to play is to code a Christmas song.
Oh,
and it was always Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer was usually the most popular. Yeah.
I coded that. I did a kind of a career day at my kids' school, and that's what I coded for them.
Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Yes, you can even code how Grandma got run over by a reindeer. They thought it was funny.
Yeah, yeah. They probably like, hey,
bunch of 8th graders, you know.
That might be a fun career. So yeah, that's a great turnout, and also having 3 or 4 exams a year is good. Like I said, our chapter did 1 a month. I think maybe we skipped 1 month, maybe like in July or something. But for our chapter, which was very small, you know, probably had 5 to 10 people at a meeting. And we probably had 50 total, you know, on the roster. But there was a lot of need in our area, and people traveled from quite a ways to come. So that's great.
That's good for your chapter, Whitney. I don't know if you are an officer or if you're interested in running for an officer. Something like that, hearing different ideas that other people talk about, bring some new ideas to your chapter. Really increase that attendance and get more interest, and that way you meet more people and get, you know, but that's really good for a meeting. So that's good that you attend all those meetings.
Yeah, I would say that you we talk about the benefits from being at networking at conferences and stuff, but some of the people from my San Angelo chapter, you know, I still am in contact with them, good friends, appreciate their knowledge, and you know, so I'll be in contact with them forever. But as well as you guys, not only do you become friends, you have that common career goal, and you know, it's just fun. I can't say enough of the advantages of being part of a local chapter and running for office. And most people are intimidated to do that. There's always a need for officers, and there are a lot of hidden perks about being an officer.
And the other thing to remember, your chapter doesn't survive if you don't have officers.
That's right. So, some people, you know, how you get one person that does one thing, like even at church, you know, one person does the same thing all the time. Well, they don't allow you to hold the same office.
2-year limit to hold that one office, 4-year limit to be an officer. Then you got to step down.
Right.
So if you don't have somebody to replace you, that could be hard for your chapter. So
and it's not hard to do.
It's not.
And there's plenty of training out there if you're intimidated. So yeah, go for it.
A lot of great new ideas coming this year too for the chapters.
Barb Rogers. Well, Barb is dear to my heart. She's been with CCO a long time. She's taken a lot of courses with us. She's also a clinician. She's a nurse, and she's been a nurse for a long time. Without saying how old Barb is, I don't even think I know how old you are, Barb. But she was at the St. Louis conference last year when I was there, and I would have to say that she took me under her wing. And Boyd has said more than once that working with me is like wrangling a cat, and it's very true. I tell people I have handlers, and it may be one of my children or my husband. Jennifer has had to do that.
That comment was suggested to me. That comment was suggested to me. It did not originate from me.
Hi, Boyd.
He just wanted to carol. He didn't want you guys thinking he was saying bad things about me. But it's true. It's probably worse than that. Working with me, because my brain just does this, you know. And anyway, Barb kind of took me under her wing at this conference that I was speaking at, because I ended up doing 3 lectures. I was supposed to do 2, but at the last minute, it was during a hurricane, and one of the St. Louis chapter members who was going to be speaking on a subject that we were both, you know, well versed on, her mother was caught in the hurricane in Florida. And she had the last minute, like the day before the conference, had to fly down and help her mother. And she said, can you do my lecture? Which luckily I could, because we had talked about her slide deck and everything. So I ended up doing 3 lectures at one conference. And Barb came to every one of my lectures, and she just made sure I had everything I needed, and it was very smooth. So, and Barb is also pretty prolific about going to our webinars, and she gives information with her expertise, not only being a clinician. She also, a little thing that she does for me, and I don't know, she probably never had to do it for you because you don't do this, but I don't always pronounce things properly, you know, and I don't let that bother me. You know, I'll tell you, I'm not going to pronounce this right, so don't say it like I do, but, you know, here's the word. But she'll phonetically spell it out for me.
Yeah, on the Q&As.
Okay, Alicia, it's pronounced, you know, and you spell it phonetically, I can do it, you know. But anyway, so again, Barb, thank you for attending. You're one of my, one of our CCO, we always call them, groupies. I like the word groupie. Lorraine always had a better name for it, but yeah, she's awesome.
I had a question here. Let me throw it. Other than somebody liking Alicia's hair,
No.
Angela asked if she has plans to set for the CPC exam next year. Would it be better to purchase 2019 books instead of 2018? If you plan to sit next year, then yes, 2019 books is what you'd want to purchase, because they will change their exams in January based on new guidelines or new CPT codes or something that come out. You could technically use your 2018 books in 2019, but you might suffer that one question that could be in the 2019 book.
That makes you get a 68 instead of a 70. You know.
So it would be up to you, of course, if you're ready now to mark up all your books and get them and study from them, and you could take that chance of skipping that question or doing your best job with that question. But typically, if you're going to take it in 2019, to have 2019 books, plus once you take it in 2019 and you pass, because you're going to pass, then you have those books for the rest of the year for your employer, for whatever you may need to do research on or something. You have them available for that current year as well.
I would add a couple things that to that too, that when you are going to take a course, July is kind of like that magic window month. Most, if we're studying for the CPC, for sure, it takes 4 months, you know, pretty average 4 months. You know, unless you're a clinician and have a lot of experience, you're not going to really get done in less than 4 months. So in July, you got July, August, September, October, and November, December. So right then, July, August, you got to start thinking, am I going to test in this year, or am I going to fall in that time? Will I be ready to test in 2018? Now, if you're taking a course now, of course, you have to have manuals already. And you need to just go ahead and budget for getting new manuals, batting your CPT manual again. Just do it. You know, it's an investment in your career. If you're looking for the best prices on manuals, the AAPC bundles them, and they are by far the best price.
Yeah.
You know, so we talked to, we actually got invited to give feedback for the AAPC on their manuals and their intercoder program. We did. Well, I got invited, and then I drug her along, and also our other roommate, Patty, because they had opinions, and they were great to listen to us. And
it was fascinating, actually.
Yeah, they had some great questions about what we thought, and so it's nice, you know, whether some of those get implemented or not, but at least they took the time to, and they gave us a nice mug for volunteering our time. But again, it's an investment in your career. AAPC has the best prices, and I have to admit their ICD-10 manual for 2018, I looked at it, and I've never been a big fan, and they stepped it up. It's pretty nice. I also looked over at another vendor that is here that was, who did I say earlier? That Decision Health. Their manual, their ICD. Now, again, CPT never changes, so don't have to worry about that. But they have a really nice manual, and they said that they would match anybody else's price. So there you go. They, and one of the things that I said, and we're getting ready to wrap up, guys. We've been blabbing for an hour. One of the things that I always liked about my favorite manual that has been Elsevier is the quality of the paper. It's thicker. It's got that shine on it. Just feels like a nice manual. But he had stated that that's the way they used to, the paper that they used to use. And then they were getting complaints that it was hard on their eyes. That shine bothers them from looking. And I thought, I never would have thought of that. And they said they even rounded off the font a little bit and changed their font. And so they went back this last year to that paper that doesn't have that shine on it. Anyway, they had a very good manual. So look out for them. And again, the AAPC has a great manual. Elsevier has a great manual. Yeah, Elsevier probably is the high-end price. You know, Decision Health said they'd match anybody's, including the AAPCs. So there you go. You know, you can go out and look at those, but you do need them the year that you're in. Let's see.
You're totally awesome. Your enthusiasm's great. It's contagious.
They asked if we liked Optum codebooks. Several people commented on Optum. I've seen Optum in the past. One of the people that used to work with us was always used Optum, and she loved them. So, but I can't give you a very good opinion because I haven't seen one in a very long time. So, wouldn't be able to help you there.
AAPC's new format of the 2019 codebooks. I haven't.
They
have them?
No, she didn't have them out yet to look at. She did mention some things that were going to change, but one of the things that was really cool about their 2018 is they have blank pages that say notes with lines several places in the manual for you to. Now, I write in my ICD, but you don't really need to annotate as much as you do like in CPT, in my opinion. But that was all right there. The other thing about Decision Health, though, that he brought up was that the guidelines that are in the front of your manual, they took them and chopped them up and applied them to where the codes actually were. And they added coding tips on the pages. So that was pretty cool. They didn't have the blank pages. So again, what do you think about, you know?
Yeah, and she did mention that the guidelines are in the front and for Optum. And he did mention that this coming year, 2019, they are moving those back up to the front, because let me tell you, I took 2 exams this year and I lost a lot of time. I was flipping to the front and they were in the back. So he did say that they split that again this coming year.
Yeah. So again, they listened and heard you guys complain. As an unreimbursed employee expense is a tax deductible. Yeah, it is. Going to conference. You're right.
And your books.
Let's see the guidance. We're going to wrap up here. Let's see the guidance. The guidelines in the front. Elsevier also has photos right next to the codes for easy reference. That's true. And the chapter guidelines right there in the chapter as well. Yeah, that's another reason I've loved Elsevier through the years. AHEMA are in the back. So they started doing that. Anything on Facebook before we wrap up?
Nope. No, I think that was it.
All right, guys, we've managed to talk to you for more than an hour about the conferences. I hope we hope to see you in a future conference.
Yes.
You know, and you might even want to consider lecturing for them. Take the time, you know, write an article for them. They're always looking for that. The AAPC is, you know, they're great, and CCO is awesome. We're contagious. CCO is contagious.
Yes.
So tell everybody about all your friends. They can come back and revisit this webinar. Probably Boyd will put it up. And feel free to go put more questions in the CCO Club. We'll be in there to answer them as well as
next week, this week, next week.
No, I mean just posting in a CCO forum in general.
Yeah.
We're around.
We'll get them.
We look at them before we go to bed. Make sure they're answered. So, okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys. From DC, next time you see us, we'll be back home. Well, you're already
Almost
home.
here.